The upcoming episodes continue the fallout from Vicky and Ross' chaotic wedding celebrations, with tensions already running high among residents after an evening packed with arguments, emotional confrontations, and shocking revelations. As Walford gathers following the wedding drama, Kathy and Cindy once again find themselves clashing. The pair have never exactly seen eye to eye, and with emotions already heightened after the explosive events of the evening, things quickly become heated between them. Not wanting the situation to escalate further, Ian steps in and decides it's best to get Kathy home before another row breaks out. Concerned that she's had too much to drink and hoping to avoid any more drama, Ian offers to drive her back himself. At first, the pair appear to be ending the night on a positive note. Back at home, Kathy proudly tells Ian how pleased she is that he has officially been voted Counselor Beale, with the pair sharing a rare moment of happiness after everything that's happened. For once, things seem to be looking up for Ian, who has spent months battling stress, family tensions, and endless chaos in Walford. Just as Ian and Kathy begin to relax, there's a sudden knock at the door, and whatever news arrives instantly changes the atmosphere. As more details begin to emerge, Ian is left completely shaken and quickly realizes he could be facing consequences far bigger than he ever imagined. Spoilers tease that Ian pales as the truth becomes clear, suddenly confronted by the terrifying possibility that he could lose everything. While the exact details are being kept tightly under wraps, it's clear the drama is connected to the shocking chain of events unfolding throughout the wedding night. As panic spreads across the square, fans can expect emotions to run high, relationships to be pushed to breaking point, and several residents to be left dealing with the fallout of one unforgettable night. Ian's latest ordeal also comes at a time when tensions within the Beale family are already fragile. His complicated history with Cindy, ongoing family pressures, and constant battles to hold things together have left him emotionally exhausted, making whatever happens next even more devastating. Meanwhile, Kathy's growing feud with Cindy threatens to cause even more problems in the aftermath of the wedding chaos. The streets of Albert Square had seen their fair share of drama over the years, but nothing could have prepared Ian and Kathy Beale for the terrifying ordeal that would change their lives forever. It began as an ordinary evening. The market had closed, the last customers had drifted away, and a cool breeze swept through Walford as darkness settled over the square. Kathy locked up the cafe while Ian nervously checked his phone for the 10th time in as many minutes. "Will you stop doing that?" Kathy sighed. "You're making me anxious." "I can't help it," Ian replied. "Something doesn't feel right tonight." Kathy laughed softly. When does something ever feel right in Walford? Despite her joke, she felt uneasy too. There was an odd tension in the air, as if the night itself was warning them that trouble was coming. A short while later, Kathy suggested they drive out of Walford for a bit. "Just the two of us," she said. "No family drama. No business worries. No square gossip." Ian reluctantly agreed. It sounded harmless enough. A chance to escape. A chance to breathe. Neither of them knew that within the hour, their lives would be hanging by a thread. The roads outside Walford were unusually quiet. Streetlights reflected against the wet asphalt as Ian drove carefully through the darkness. Kathy sat beside him, staring out of the window. For the first time in weeks, they were actually talking. Not arguing. Not worrying. Just talking. They laughed about old memories. About the cafe. About family disasters that somehow seemed funny years later. For a moment, everything felt normal. Then Ian noticed headlights in his rearview mirror. A black SUV. First he thought nothing of it. But after several miles it was still there. Close. Too close. "Why is that car following us?" Kathy asked quietly. Ian glanced in the mirror again. "I'm sure it's not." Yet his voice betrayed his uncertainty. The SUV accelerated. Its bright lights flooded the interior of their car. Kathy shifted nervously. "Ian." "I know." He pressed the accelerator slightly. The SUV matched his speed. A knot formed in Ian's stomach. This was no coincidence. The road ahead curved through a stretch of woodland. There were no houses, no shops, no people, just darkness. The SUV suddenly surged forward. Its engine roared. The vehicle slammed into the back of Ian's car. Crash! Kathy screamed. Ian struggled to keep control as the steering wheel jerked violently in his hands. "What are they doing?" Kathy cried. "I don't know." Another impact. Harder this time. The car fishtailed across the road. Tires screeched. Ian fought desperately to steady the vehicle. The SUV remained behind them like a predator stalking its prey. "Call the police," Ian shouted. Kathy grabbed her phone with trembling hands. But before she could dial, bang! The SUV rammed them again. The phone flew from her grasp. The car swerved toward the edge of the road. Ian's heart pounded. They were losing control. Rain began to fall. Heavy. Relentless. Visibility vanished almost instantly. The windshield wipers struggled to keep up. The SUV's headlights remained fixed behind them. Watching. Waiting. Hunting. Kathy turned around. She couldn't see the driver. Only darkness behind the glass. "Who is it?" she whispered. Ian had no answer. His hands gripped the wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. Then the road ahead disappeared. A sharp bend emerged from the darkness. Too late. Far too late. Ian slammed the brakes. The tires lost grip. The car skidded. Spinning. Sliding. Out of control. Time seemed to stop. Kathy's scream echoed through the vehicle. Ian's eyes widened in horror. The road vanished beneath them. And suddenly, they were airborne. The car plunged down an embankment. Metal twisted. Glass shattered. The world exploded into noise. Crash. The vehicle rolled. Once. Twice. Silence. 3 times. Terrible silence. Ian opened his eyes. Everything hurt. Blood trickled down his forehead. The car rested on its side. Rainwater poured through the shattered windows. For several seconds he couldn't remember where he was. Then panic hit him. Kathy. No response. Kathy. She was unconscious. A deep cut ran across her forehead. Ian's heart nearly stopped. No, no, no. He reached toward her. She didn't move. Outside, thunder rumbled overhead. Rain continued pouring into the wreckage. The smell of petrol filled the air. Ian froze. Petrol. That meant danger. Real danger. Kathy. Her eyes fluttered slightly. Relief flooded through him. Ian, she murmured weakly. We've got to get out. She tried to move but cried out in pain. My leg. Ian looked down. The dashboard had trapped her. His stomach dropped. They were stuck. Completely stuck. And the smell of fuel was getting stronger. Above them, headlights appeared at the top of the embankment. The SUV. It had stopped. Watching. Waiting. Neither Ian nor Kathy could believe it. For several terrifying moments, the vehicle remained motionless. Then it slowly turned around and drove away, leaving them behind. What if it comes back? Kathy whispered. Ian didn't answer. He was focused on survival. Using every ounce of strength he had, he tried to force open the damaged door. Nothing. It wouldn't budge. Rainwater continued flooding the vehicle. The level rose around their feet. Kathy's breathing became faster. Ian, we're getting out. How? He didn't know. But he refused to give up. Not tonight. Not ever. Minutes felt like hours. Every second brought new fear. The water climbed higher. The wreckage groaned ominously. Then through the storm a distant sound emerged. Sirens. Ian almost cried with relief. They're coming. Blue lights appeared above. Police. Paramedics. Rescue crews. Someone must have seen the crash. Help had arrived. The rescue operation was painstaking. Firefighters carefully cut through twisted metal. Sparks flew into the rain. Kathy remained trapped. Ian watched helplessly as crews worked around her. You're going to be okay, he kept saying. Again. And again. And again. He wasn't sure whether he was reassuring Kathy or himself. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, rescuers freed her. The moment Kathy was lifted onto a stretcher, Ian broke down. Years of stress. Years of fear. Years of loss. Everything came pouring out. Because for one awful moment, he had genuinely believed he was about to lose his mother forever. At the hospital, the reality of what had happened began to sink in. Doctors treated Kathy's injuries. Thankfully, none were life-threatening. Cuts. Bruises. A fractured leg. She was lucky. Very lucky. Ian sat beside her bed through the night. Neither of them slept. Every time they closed their eyes they saw the crash again. The headlights. The impact. The terrifying fall. Just before dawn, Kathy finally spoke. "You saved my life." Ian shook his head. "We saved each other." "No." She smiled weakly. "You never gave up." Ian looked away. Emotion threatened to overwhelm him. For years he had been consumed by business problems, family feuds, and endless drama. But sitting beside Kathy in that hospital room changed something. It reminded him what truly mattered. Family, love, time, things money could never buy. Later that morning, detectives arrived. They had questions. Lots of questions. Because evidence suggested the crash had not been an accident. Witnesses had seen the SUV. Tire marks confirmed repeated impacts. Someone had deliberately targeted Ian and Kathy. The news sent chills through the family. Who would do such a thing? And why? The mystery would haunt Walford for weeks. But for Ian and Kathy, another realization mattered more. Life was fragile. Far more fragile than either of them had wanted to admit. Several days later, Kathy was discharged from hospital. The square gathered to welcome her home. Friends, neighbors, family, people who had feared the worst. As Kathy looked around, she felt overwhelmed by gratitude. She had survived. They both had. And somehow that terrifying night had given them something unexpected. Perspective. Standing outside the cafe, Ian looked at his mother. "You know," he said, "I keep thinking about what could have happened." Kathy nodded. "So do I. I don't want to waste any more time." "Neither do I." For a moment neither spoke. The noise of Albert Square buzzed around them. Life continuing as normal. As if nothing had happened. Yet everything had changed. Because on one stormy night, a terrifying car crash had forced Ian and Kathy to confront what truly mattered. They had stared death in the face. They had survived the unimaginable. And while the mystery of who targeted them remained unsolved, one thing was certain. The people who climbed out of that wreck were not the same people who had driven away from Walford. The experience had changed them forever. And as darkness once again settled over Albert Square, neither Ian nor Kathy could shake the feeling that the nightmare was far from over. Somewhere out there, the driver of that black SUV was still watching, still waiting, and sooner or later they would return to finish what they started. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to EastEnders Spoilers Official.